Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with Lalo and Bob. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. Let's jump right into that weekly dose of things you can disagree with. Take it away, guys.
All right, here we go, man. Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project. It's been a weird week, man. I swear to God, I sat down this morning to read the news, and is the war in Yugoslavia or Ukraine over? Is that?
It's over in the news cycle.
Oh, okay. So it's unimportant that the same amount of people are dying, the same amount of shit's getting blown up, and we're just not. We're just bored with it. Is that it?
Pretty much.
I think Putin has cancer. That's big.
Does he?
Yeah, that's what it said. It's something about handing over the reins to someone else while he gets cancer surgery. I guess that's why he was gripping the table and gripping the news there for a week.
I thought that was like his like mind controlling alien trying to not break character.
You know what? I'm not. I don't want. I don't want to get off on a wrong foot here. I'm not downplaying the war. I'm just saying it's fucking hilarious how American news cycles work the way they do. It's the Russians are still advancing on these people, still blowing them up. We're still handing them weapons in the back door. There's all kinds of rhetoric being back and forth, and basically we're like, I don't know. Trump has something to say, doesn't he? I mean, Truth Social's available. Have you seen the news cycle this morning?
No.
Yeah, dude, there's nothing. I mean, the
There's
front
nothing.
page, there's nothing. It's Dollar
That's a
General,
first.
Donald Trump, knife sharpening service, I guess. Tiger Woods, looks like Naomi Judd died. A first look at Avatar, and what's a dirty soda, Utah's beloved drink. There you go. Nothing.
Um, I mean, sometimes it looks or it seems like a lot of the news cycle is just like recycled things, if that makes sense. It's like the same story or issue,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like with the different
Well, if you read them at the
like
bottom of
writing
a
on
lot
it.
of them, it says first appeared on Huffington Post, and then first appeared here, and then it's been added to or modified. So I don't know, dude. Everything is so fucking disingenuous in the news and politics and at work. I mean, the entire country is just awash in. You know what, Holmes? I was out. I was out at work the other day. I was out driving around, and some guy was tailgating some other person on South Chester, right, just north of the circle there at that first light. And the dude who was being tailgated got out of the car at the stoplight and was pounding on the other car. And I was like, Jesus Christ, how fucking angry are we? I mean, how angry are we, Lalo? It's the whole situation. Everybody is getting ready to boil over, you know?
Yeah, I was about
Const-
to say it sounds like everybody's like right on the edge,
hmm
ready to just like explode
Ready
for
to
any
swing,
reason.
man.
And I mean, a lot of that has to do with like that sort of behavior. A lot of the times is due to like other things in people's lives, you know,
Oh, yeah, sure.
and
Sure.
then just like that minor inconvenience just like throws you over the edge.
Minor inconvenience. I killed a person because they were tailgating me. Yeah. It's like, no, you
Yeah,
didn't. I don't know, man. I, I've been looking at this for 2 years and watching this slowly get hotter and hotter and hotter, and like the news cycles are all about take care of your mental health, take care of your mental health, take care of your mental health, and on top of us trying to take care of our mental health, there's jobs that are not paying well. People are overwhelmed. Housing sucks. The economy is blown out the fucking side. I mean, what do we got? 8.5% inflation right now. Gas over 5.50. People are people can't take it, and That's why you say one more minor inconvenience, and suddenly you're just cursing and beating on another person's car.
Yeah, it's hard to. And I mean, I understand that sentiment. Like when like there's so many things like coming at you
Yeah,
that you feel are like going against you.
yeah,
Like I understand being like upset and angry like all the time. Um, so I mean, I don't. I mean, obviously that like particular person was like in the wrong, but like at the same time, I'm able to see where they're coming from and like why they did what they did. Like
yeah,
it's not right, but I understand it, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm sure that's the same
Of
for a lot of
course.
people like around the country.
I,
Like they just feel like they can't catch a break.
yeah, I know. I understand completely. I lived in that uh, cycle of my life for a few years where I was just angry all the time, and you're just waiting for the thing to pop up to so you can let off some of that steam, and you're not doing it on purpose. It's not I can't wait till someone cuts me off in the grocery store, and I can't wait. I'm just gonna beat their ass, but it it's like a pressure valve releases a little bit, but then inevitably you feel fucking stupid. Even I'm sure that guy got back in his car and he's just seething with rage. And later on he's telling his wife about it while he's seething with rage at the dinner table. And then he lays down to watch TV, seething with rage. At some point you have to think, what the fuck am I so mad about? What's going on? And you have to become self-aware or you're going to end up in trouble, in bad trouble.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but that's like a very like hard thing to do for a lot
Yeah,
of people. That like self reflection.
yeah,
Um,
like we don't have
like
time.
yeah, like that, and like all these like introspective things are very hard things to do when you're like worried about so many other things.
Yeah,
Like outside of your life that are affecting you like directly.
outside of your control even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Man, you sit down if you sit down and you pay attention to the news for 5 minutes, you see that, you know, the people who are in charge of us are lying. They're it's obvious now. I mean, it's like here's the fucking tape recording of you saying what you said, and then you get a microphone in your face, and you're like, "Oh, what'd you say, dear Senator McCarthy?" He goes, well, "I didn't mean that. I didn't say that like that." No, you directly said it. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's tweeting about martial law, which she fucking misspelled, but that's fine. I She's tweeting about martial law and then lies on the stand and then lies on the news, and I think that's just fueling us because we people on that side of the ticket, they want to be right because everybody wants to be right there. They want their political decisions and political aspirations to be correct. But then you look at the people in charge of what you believe, and they're just fucking liars. And you have to somehow justify that in your head. Well, he's lying. Maybe he's not lying. And the frustration's growing and growing and growing, dude. And I don't see a way out unless somebody steps up and changes the game, completely changes the game. And I don't know how to do that. I have no idea. I would like to.
Yeah, I think we're kind of stuck like in this just like constant like back and forth,
Yeah.
where it's literally like half the country going back and forth with the other half.
Yeah. Choose up
And
sides and
it's
sling mud. That's what we do.
yeah. And when it's like when the system's like that, um it's kind of hard to like be decisive and to get real change done because like at every opportunity of change, it's like you said, it's very indecisive.
Hmm.
So it causes things to like kind of just be at a standstill. Like with like let's say for like elections, for example, um, like everybody, right now I'm pretty confident that like Republicans are going to take back like the House and probably even the Senate.
Right.
Um, but all that's kind of like a reaction to all like the news that they see and like the gas prices and like the inflation,
Yeah.
and they just correlate all those things with like Joe Biden and the Democrats. So it's like the next election cycle will just go towards the Republicans, and then for however many years like they're in control, like not much is gonna get done. People aren't really gonna see like that much change in their lives, so they'll get bored and tired. So then the following election they'll go back to Democrats,
You're right.
and it's just like this constant like flip flopping where nothing really changes because we can't really like stick to one view,
Right. But how do we change that? That's the thing. It's like we can't. We're being steered through the media, through corporate uh, interests, through politicians that are paid off by corporations, and do the people. And I'm no, don't get me wrong. I'm not. I know we say it a lot that we're not conspiracy theorists, but we kind of are. I mean, everybody kind of is. Do How would the change benefit those in power? It wouldn't. So can
That's
we
part of the
say
reason why they kind of make it hard for things to change or why they
right,
enact change, because they just want things to be like status quo,
right? So how do we get out of that cycle? Because too many people, like I said before, it's this partisan politics, this binary way of looking at things, Democrat, Republican, I'm going to choose up sides. And that's not the problem. Because if I chose up, it was going to be a Democrat and Democratic values, and I went about it in a mindful way, in an educated way. But these people, they choose up sides, and then it just becomes a mudslinging contest. There is no, you can't get any information that you need to get when someone's just like, you're a fucking liar and here's the proof. So we need to soften our stance somewhere, and then that at the same time softening your stance can take you out in this kind of climate.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard, like, it's an issue that has, it's not so easy to like see, like, oh, this is what we got to do and
Right.
it'll be better, So I always say, like, when you have a problem or an issue and you really, like, you honestly don't know how to solve it, um, to just like start trying things. Because I feel a lot of the times people try to either convince themselves or convince other people to not try things just because they say, like, oh, that's not going to work, or that's probably not going to work.
Right.
And I see it in a lot of different instances. I was actually talking to a coworker this past week. I think it was Friday or Thursday. And I'm trying to remember what we were talking about. It was like some. Oh yeah, we were talking about the that bill. I think it's in California to like change us to like a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
And
That's here in
they're like,
California.
yeah, they were like, oh, did you guys see that bill that they're trying to change or pass? And I was like, oh yeah, I think that's a great idea. And they're like, there was like a few of us in the area, and they're like, why? Like what? Like I don't think that's a good idea. Like who's gonna give me that extra money? And first of all, that just shows like you haven't, like I haven't read the entire bill, but like I've seen like the bullet points,
Hmm.
and it's not like, hey, instead of 5 days, you just work 4 days now, and you lose out on a days of work. It's You work 4 days, but your pay is adjusted to make sure you get paid the same.
Okay.
Like you don't, your employers aren't allowed to dock you pay. So technically, your hourly wage would like go up by quite a bit, you know.
Right. And
And it's all like, oh well, how are you gonna like, how are places gonna only be open 4 days a week? It's like that doesn't work that way. Like you stagger, you know. 'Cause, you know, Walmart's open 7 days a week. That doesn't mean you work 7 days a week. Um, but it was one of those things where like at everything I would say, they would have like, oh, I don't think that's gonna work. Like I remember one thing they said specifically was, um, like I don't like that because I know like corporations always like find a loophole and find a way to make it benefit them. And I mean that's probably true, you know, like they'll probably, you know, do something to where that benefits them because it's intended for them to not to hurt them but to benefit the workers, you know.
right.
And in my mind, I remember thinking like I don't like that line of thinking because that's kind of like what if someone told you like during slavery times like hey we should end slavery, you know, these are the benefits, and then some like super pessimistic person was like yeah but they'll probably have like 100 years of like Jim Crow after that and it's pretty much like the same thing as slavery and they'll segregate you, and it's like okay but we should still try it, you know. It's
Yeah.
still a good idea to like end slavery.
Yeah. It's yeah, we should mandate that people give give their organs. Well, no, we can't do that because then the government will start killing us for our organs. No.
Yeah, so when people don't want to try things or like try ideas or options just because they don't think it's gonna work, so they just rather stay the same, like in the bad situation.
Right.
To me, that doesn't like make much sense. Like we have to try things until we find something that works, or we could try a solution and then like you know tweak it here and there until we you know get it right. And it's like that's just how things work, you know.
Yeah, that's how
Like
things are
that's how
invented,
yeah.
basically.
So it's we just have to try things, like try something, try anything. And I think that's where we're stuck right now. Like we don't want to do anything about anything because we're too afraid or we're not sure if that's the right solution. Like,
Isn't
oh,
it
you know, have you
funny?
yeah, like and it's for like every issue if you think about it. It's like
Yeah.
universal healthcare, like, oh no,
Oh
look
no.
at Canada, like they're gonna fucking you're gonna wait 3 months to see a dentist. Or my taxes are gonna skyrocket. And it's like we don't know. You know, there's people that um have like the plan laid out and you know they have their you know this is how we're gonna fund it, this is how it's gonna run. Um and you know it may run like that, it may not. But you don't know until you like implement it and try it.
Everything we've come so far in, as a country, as a planet, really as a species, because of innovation and courage and trying new things and doing all the things. And it seems like at this point in human history, we don't want to do that anymore. We've come to the point where I guess we're just scared of it. And I think we've been frightened into it by corporate interests who've, will think for you, and it comes in all it comes all of us. We'll tell you how to think, we'll think for you, we'll read it because that bill is much too complicated for you to read, sir. So we'll read it, we'll interpret it, and we'll vote for it. You trust us. And then at the same time they're just stabbing everybody in the back that they can stab in the back to get richer or more powerful. And I guess we've lost our way as a species, not just as a country. Innovation is gone. I mean, we still have a few people out there like I guess Musk. He's an innovator. Still, he's a corporate dog who just wants more power and more money. I don't know, dude. I don't want to be pessimistic here, but fuck.
And it's very hard not to be pessimistic, and I've realized that about like even myself too. Like just seeing what goes on. Like sometimes I'll tell myself like, "There's no fucking way like we're gonna change course." Like in a lot of things, climate change, fucking capitalism. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I think about it as like, are we like too deep into it? Like, is it too late to like change course and make things right, or to like unify and take a stand? And I get that you know pessimistic outlook, and sometimes I have it myself,
Yeah.
or a lot of times I have it myself, I would say.
Yeah, I'd have it a lot. I'm trying to get out of it, but I think maybe I'm trying to I'm trying a different approach recently. Instead of thinking we're in too deep to turn back, well, maybe we don't need to turn back, Lalo. Maybe we just need to rethink how we're thinking about this, because the situation's not going to change. It's like, you know, you there's some things you simply can't change. You just, like, if you've got some huge rock in your yard, you're not going to move the rock. Let's think about the rock in a different way, and let's utilize it in a different way. So let's think about our situation differently. Yeah, we are under corporate control. We are under media. We're driven by the media. It's the little things that we could do at this level, trying to teach people how to think differently about what we're doing. Maybe that's the change we need. Instead of changing that, we need to change us. You know?
Yeah, and I will be like honest that I think a lot of my like pessimism, and I've thought about it too. Like I think some of it has to do with the fact that like a lot of things that I see online or like news stories, um, like even wherever they're posted, it's posted by like local outlets.
Hmm.
Even like national news stories are posted by local outlets, and so when reading all the like comments and like things people say, it's all people like here in town, and this town's very like conservative.
Yeah.
So I can imagine like if I was to live in or go to like some like San Francisco like local news Facebook page and read like the same exact story that I'm reading here about like I don't know, Elon Musk buying Twitter or some shit.
Right.
Like the
Some
comments
shit.
would be very different, even though it's the same story. So I can sometimes like I tell myself sometimes like, okay, just remember like this is fucking Kern County. Like I expect to see what I see.
Yeah.
So sometimes that kind of helps me like tell myself like, okay, it's not everybody's like this.
Yeah. Okay. That's exactly what I'm talking about, and that's really intelligent way of looking at it, man. As of saying, okay, this is not. It's not like this everywhere.
Yeah.
And when I guess that's everything. It's not in the We look at the United States. It's not like the United States everywhere, and there has to be a way to, dude. Maybe it's not about the big picture either. Maybe it's just about this. Maybe it's just about me. And I'm not saying that in a narcissistic or a, a closed in way. I'm just saying maybe my happiness is contingent on how I think about things, and I can't get out of it. I can't get rid of Kevin McCarthy with my one vote. However, I can look at Kevin McCarthy for what he is, and I can say, okay, I can justify that in my mind. That's going to go away sometime. I hope it gets replaced with someone better, and go about my life, because I can't get Trump out of the news. I can't get McCarthy out of the news, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and, all these things that are fucking wrong. I just need to look at them as, okay, it's out of my control. How can I live my life with that in it, instead of wasting my time freaking out and going on websites and giving a little conservative view and all the things that people do that make them miserable, make them jump out of fucking cars at stoplights, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's yeah, it takes a lot of like self control and like mindfulness, and I think that's where that whole like take care of your like mental health aspect comes in,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
that's kind of the times where you take a step back, and I guarantee you could go ask that person right now and be like, was that right? And they'll tell you like, no, like I overreacted,
I
like it wasn't that
overreacted.
big.
But
So it's
maybe if we talk to people though, Lalo, maybe if we said, hey, what went on that day, and he started that guy started to tell you what was wrong that entire day or hit that week, and then maybe that would, like you said, help him to go, all right, it wasn't about that. I reacted to things that I reacted to something that I shouldn't have reacted about because I didn't react to the things I should have.
yeah,
Yeah.
they kind of let it build up, and they like redirected that anger to somewhere that it didn't like make sense.
Yeah. Dude, not to get too personal here, but the last 2 years, because of being on top of people all the time in my personal life, my life has gotten a hell of a lot better, my personal life, because I sit down and I tell people, you know, I'm having this feeling right now. And instead of letting that thing become something else where I'm jumping out of a fucking car at a stoplight, I'm like to my wife or my child or close friends, I'm like, I'm having a problem. So we talk, I'm starting to talk things through, become more self aware, look at my feelings. If there is a feeling inside me that I need to talk about to my wife, then I go do that. But then sometimes I can say, you know what? I'm just in a bad spot right here. It really doesn't have anything to do with Laura. It has everything to do with me. So I think self awareness is what everybody needs, but no one has a fucking clue because we've always been told keep that shit to yourself.
Yeah, and for the longest, we've kind of been told that,
Yeah.
um, and it's like different for like different people and like different cultures, but it's a lot of that like, hey, like get over it or like man up.
Yeah.
All these different like types of like ways people try to make you feel or think
Hmm.
have kind of like contributed to that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get it. It's hard.
Oh my God, dude. Some of the talks that I've had with my wife in the last 2 years, l- l- the, they have stemmed from 40 years of being alive and ways of thinking and ways of doing things and um, at facets of relationships that I had not understood. And then you sit down and you say, okay, we need to talk. Those are the hardest conversations you can have with people. They really are. It's like, we need to fix this. We need to find a way to fix, we're not communicating. So today, on May the 1st, 2022, my relationship with my wife is the best relationship I've ever had with a with a female, with a partner, because we're
Yeah.
completely honest. I mean, like, it doesn't matter if it's uncomfortable or not. And the craziest fucking thing that I realized is this is my wife. This is the person that I've, we stood under the Las Vegas sign at midnight and got married to a group of, with a group of rowdy drunk people cheering us on. But no matter how you do it, I promise this person that I'm going to try to live my life with her, and then you don't communicate. And that's what everybody fucking does. You, there's certain aspects of the personality that you keep to yourself, of course, but the avenues of relationships have widened greatly for me. I'm allowed to be myself. I'm allowed to talk about my feelings. If those feelings aren't validated, that's fine, because she can say, well, this is what's going on. And then I can accept that flow of information. And if you take that, dude, if we took that idea about communicating during a relationship and how good a relationship can be with all that honesty in it and applied that to our work life, or we're allowed to, and then applied that to our friendships and applied that to our politics and applied that to our religion, things will be a lot fucking better because people would understand each other more. She understands me. I get it. Not I understand her. And the only reason I do is because we talk about it and we don't lie to each other and we don't freak out on each other, and because those things build up and then you have a fight about the pie was wrong or something really fucking stupid when it's about how you felt about your mom. I mean, you know?
Yeah, so our like lack of communication is very like it could have like very severe consequences
Oh my god, yeah.
just because it's kind of like it's one of those like snowball effects, you know.
Yeah.
So we, I think that's a very like important thing we need to work on because I think it applies in some, like you said, in many different aspects of our lives.
Yeah.
You know, friendships, relationships, you know, politics,
Hmm.
like that communication and um, how we how we give it and how we receive it. I think is very important. Um, in one of my classes that I'm taking, that's all it's about. It's communication and the different aspects of it, and it talks about um, message encoding and message decoding,
Right.
which is just pretty much how we say things and how we perceive things, and how you know you could tell two different people the same sentence and they'll understand it two very different ways.
Two very different ways. Right.
So it's we kind of have to be able to not only say things how we mean them and not try to not give off something that could be like taken the wrong way, because then that just causes like more conflict, unintended conflict, you know.
Right.
But
And
we
not
also have
only
to,
that, we have to and be careful about how we say things, but we have to be careful about how we decode things that other people say. Because I
yeah,
can tell you, listen, I don't want to talk right now. I need a few minutes. And a lot of people will take that as, what did I do? You didn't do
exactly,
anything.
yeah,
I'm having a hard fucking time. I don't want to talk right now. Oh, okay. And that's one of the main uh, tenets of my relationship now is when someone doesn't want to talk, no one takes it personally. So that's, I think, dude, all the cognitive dissonance that we are, that it occurs because we know we're wrong. That dude knew he was wrong, jumping out of the car. I knew I was wrong all my life. I knew in the back of my mind I was wrong. Lalo had no fucking clue on how to even unpack it. I had no clue. It's like all of a sudden you start telling the truth. The fuck are you talking about? Start telling the truth. I can't do that. My wife will leave me. When the exact opposite would have happened. My wife would have grown closer to me because she understood me more.
yeah. And it's one of those things like I mentioned earlier, like we sometimes we don't think something's gonna work, so we just rather not do it or not try it, you know.
Right. Right. Well,
So it all kind of, you know, we kind of talk ourselves or like psych ourselves out a lot of the times when it comes to change
yeah.
specifically,
Yeah.
because I think, you know, we're all naturally afraid of change, especially if we're like comfortable in something.
Right. Right. I was going to say not just change, we're afraid of pain.
Yeah. So, and I always tell people, I forgot where I heard it or like who said this quote, but Um, it's one of those quotes that always stays with me, and it's that the only constant thing in life is change. You
Yeah,
know, so you kind of have to um, you it's inevitable, so you have might as well try to like adapt and make the best out of it,
I agree. I mean,
especially for those like changes that are like unwanted or unavoidable.
we have lots of tools for the inevitable in our lives as humans. You know, like we have, you know, an umbrella. It doesn't rain every day, but somewhere in this house, I know there's a fucking umbrella. So that's the way we have to look at life, man. We have a lot of tools that we're not using: communication, love, acceptance, forgiveness. We have all these really, really cool things built into our personalities that we can utilize, but we have been lied to that all those things are weaknesses. And I think I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I think my wife looks at me like one of the strongest people that she knows because I can stand up and ask her, you know, we need to talk. And she can do the same to me. And that's strength, man. And empathy and courage and all these things that we have as human beings that are just the most beautiful thing, but we choose anger and resentment and jealousy and all the fucking things that are happening to us right now in our culture that are going to destroy us because no one has the courage to stand up and say, okay, we need to rethink this.
Yeah, it's it's very complicated and it's very intricate, you know.
Yeah.
But I do think we're moving like in the right direction.
You know, I
Um,
do too, man. And that there's hope here. There is.
yeah, because for I mean, for every like super like negative thing I see, like there's people that remind me like like everyone's not like this, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, we kind of live in like this echo chamber that is like Kern County, you know. And it's just like people, like you'll see like um like certain comments getting like a bunch of likes, you know.
Mhm.
And it just makes me think like, damn, like a lot of people really like think this way, you know, or like do
Yeah.
believe this.
I think a
So
lot of people are afraid too to be exposed that they think that way. So they only do it online. And I think we need to I'm trying at work to I want to be that person that you're talking about. Openly be that person that gives other people hope. Um and I know that sounds fucking stupid in the culture that I live in, but like I sometimes I show up to work early and I'll go and put sticky notes on people's computers that says today's your day or have a nice day or some sentiment that will start their 8 a.m. out on a better foot. So I want to be that guy, and it's really fucking hard because some people make fun of me, and I don't mind because I know where they're coming from. They're appreciative, but they're not allowed to be appreciative in their own skull. Somewhere inside their skull, that's like, wow, I'm really touched here, but I better not do that because I'll be a pussy, and I don't want to be a pussy. So it's really cool to be the nice guy. And it's what our jobs are. Our jobs are beacons of hope, man. Even in the corporate, bureaucratic, fucking bullshit that we have to put up with every day, at the bottom of it, dude, at the end of the day, what do? We still help homeless people. We still help the mentally ill. We still help people get by who would not get by without us. That's cool. That's a cool job.
yeah, we kind of just have to like see the big picture sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if we get caught up in like the everyday things,
Yeah.
I think you'll not you specifically, but like people will kind of be miserable because I mean, I think life gives you a reason to be miserable every
It
day.
certainly does. It's called survival. It's it, if there is a situation where you have to survive, that means you're under pressure, and we are under pressure constantly. So
Yeah,
that's what's generating this low level anxiety all the time. We're under the gun, and it's not just capitalism, man. It's
it's
not
mostly
just
capitalism, though.
it's mostly capitalism, but it's also, the news saying there's a rock coming towards us. It's going to pass within 26,000 miles. And you're like, well, that's not very close. And they're like, that's really fucking close in the universal terms. Like, oh shit. They're scaring the fuck out of us all the time. So this is on fire. That's on fire. This shooting, that shooting. And I always laughed for years. I laughed because the news is about bad, 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 bad. Here's a puppy, you know?
Yeah,
So nowadays, I'm waiting for the puppy. I'm like, I hope something's fucking good here because Jesus Christ.
yeah, and I think people have to do a better job of like, um, I think like something that might help people with like that, like you said, low level anxiety is how we consume and like digest uh, like media just in general.
Yeah.
Um, like you just said, it's very like bang, 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 like negative after negative. So you kind of have to. Sometimes it's best to just like turn away for a bit, you know.
Yes, sir. And I do. But what about the people who are just anxious and they're on medication and they can't turn away from it? Because I know a couple people, I know more than a handful of people that are stressed out on anxiety medication. Everything is about, you know, something that's going to go wrong with them. If two people are over there talking, it's about them, and it's this constant cycle of everything's wrong. But like we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, I think it's the base is wrong, and you're anxious at the base of your life. Everything's going to stem from that. Everything's going to be anxious and stressed out. What do we do with those people? And that's indicative of our fucking culture, man. How do we get to the base and say, listen, everybody relax just for one fucking second and take a look at yourself? Stop looking at your neighbor. Stop looking at Walmart. Stop looking at Jeff Bezos. Stop looking at the news and think, how am I consuming and how am I justifying all this in my head? And why am I having so many problems? That's what we need to do.
Yeah, and I would also say for like people like that, I think it's also very important um, to have like support around you, you know,
Hmm.
because for some people it's hard to like do it on their own,
I agree. Yeah.
um, especially if it's so severe to the point where they're like on medication and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I think having people around you, and then not only that, but like seeking them out, you know, or going to them
Yeah.
whenever you need it or you feel, you know, a certain type of way.
Maybe those people don't have that at all. I mean, because I'm thinking of one person I know in particular, and of course, no names, but he's he's stressed out at work, and he's stressed out being a dad because he doesn't think he's a good enough dad, and he's stressed out in his marriage because he's not a good enough husband, and he does not have anything in his life where he's like, I'm good enough, or I can relax right here, because he doesn't see it, and that's going to cause a death, is what that's going to cause.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that's how that usually happens, you know, because I know not everybody has people like that in their lives,
Yeah.
so it's difficult, you know. and then a lot of times you don't even know, like until it's too late or
Yeah.
until something happens, and then
Oh,
that's when people find out, like, oh, like they were really like hurting, you know.
yeah.
So
And then the people like, I know what I realize right now during this podcast, I realize what I have to do in order to help people like that. I have to be a base of calm, zen for that person, and then help that guy, help that realize that, hey, you need to find something in your life that, music or art or reading or, weightlifting, something. You have to find something that can that you can build off of. You got to find some base. And then I think that people like us, we need to be the good guy without absorbing that stress and anxiety at the same time.
yeah, I think that's a very good way to put it. Like that you're almost like a beacon, you know,
Yeah.
like a beacon of help. Um, but I also know that could like put a lot of stress on you also, you know,
Yeah,
if like
that
handled incorrectly.
if you don't handle correctly, then you're absorbing everybody else's problems and you become anxious yourself, and you don't want to do that. You want to be like, I don't want to say a therapist, but basically you want to become a therapist. You want to be okay, but a lot of therapists are fucked up. I know a lot of therapists now, and they're all fucked up because they're just they're just handed a bunch of tools, and they have the skill to help other people, but they don't have the skill to help themselves, and that's really fucking odd to me. But at the same time, we've talked about it before. I went to school and had all these tricks and to help other people, and it was fucking ended up in therapy myself because I didn't apply it to me.
Yeah, it's
Everybody needs everybody's help here is basically what we're saying.
even the best of like people that can, like, have you heard the term like be your own therapist?
Yeah, yeah.
Like even those people, even like the smartest people, even like the most well put together people
A barber
need
can't
help in
cut his
some.
own hair, bro. That's what I've always looked at it. That's the way I've always looked at it. A barber cannot cut his own hair. Not to any. Occasionally, you do. You see that, but most barbers have their own barber. So there you go. Most
Yeah,
therapists should have their own therapist.
exactly.
That's DBT is a wonderful thing. Uh, it's so good, man. It's so. It, I was talking to a therapist the other day. I went over to his house to hang out, and he was saying DBT is like Taoism, but it's technical now. It's just like let it go, man. You're allowed to have multiple thoughts that are in your head that are dialectical. They are completely opposite. You can hate and love your wife at the same fucking time, and it's completely normal. And he talked about he taught me this thing called wise mind, and I'm sure you're learning about that in school, where it's you can you can have hateful thoughts that you cannot control, and they're not. It's okay to have them. Everybody has them. Everybody wants to murder someone sometimes, or beat someone up, or slam their car into somebody, and at the same time you don't. You've got to be able to look at your thoughts and sort them out and say, okay, I'm having a bad day, not a bad life.
Yeah, it's like just because you have them doesn't mean you'll act on them, you know.
Right, right. I've heard so many people talk about the thoughts that they have, you know, are disturbing and distressing to them, and I'm thinking I have the same fucking thoughts. So how can I teach that person it's okay to have those? It's okay to do that. And it took me a couple years of therapy, and it took me 5, 6, 7 years of of the realization and that I needed therapy before that. So there's a decade of my life that I thought I need therapy, but I can't go get it because that would make me weak, until I got to the point where those thoughts of I need therapy and the weakness collided in my head, and I couldn't get away from it anymore. So I went to therapy, and I wish I'd have done it when I was in my fucking 20s, because I've dealt with these fucking weird thoughts that I didn't know that everyone had, because we don't talk about it. We're not allowed to talk about it.
And I've noticed that a lot of people go to therapy as like a maintenance thing
Mm-hmm.
almost. Like
Yeah.
they don't even like, because when you think of therapy, you think of like some like major like traumatic event in someone's
Right.
life, and it's affected them like
Right.
heavily. But a lot of people go just to like not go crazy, like
Yeah.
they have the insight to be like, hey, you know I don't want like I want to be able to like process things, and not let things like build up and things like that. So
Yeah.
they go like preemptively.
Well, you get the oil change in your car, you there's all kinds of things that are maintenance in our life. And I think I'm really glad that mental health is popping up all over the place in the news, and people start to talk about it, like it's okay. And there's that uh, supervisor at work that she has the news story on her door that says we should treat mental health like we treat physical health at work. If you're hurt at work and you're bleeding, they take you to the fucking doctor. If you're crying, well, you need to get back to work. And that's completely wrong. If you're not crying every single fucking day until you're crying every single fucking day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, if we catch them in the first breakdown and we say, okay, here you go, we need to get you some help because you're not bleeding physically, but you're bleeding mentally here, and we need to fix that. We need to help you. But we are so, if we can't see it, it must not be. If that person's hiding it, they must be strong enough to deal with it. And that's not always the case. Oh, it's hardly ever the case. I think in supervision the other day, they asked me, my supervisor asked me, she said, "What do you think we need as a team?" And I said, "Therapy." And she laughed. And I didn't laugh, dude. I was like, "No, about every 3 months, you need to check on us, because we are down here in the trenches working with the homeless, and we see nudity and drug use and violence and despair and all the things that are at the bottom of humanity. We're experiencing it every single fucking day of our lives. Don't you think maybe that every 3 months we need to check in with a therapist and say, how you doing? How you dealing with this?" And she said, "Well, that's actually pretty smart." I'm like, "Yeah, it is. How about that? It might keep you from flipping out at the grocery store."
Yeah, it's I'm like you said, I'm glad it's like becoming more prevalent. And that's what I mean by like that I see things improving,
Hmm.
like 5 years ago you would have never seen like this emphasis on mental health. So I'm glad it's happening, and I'm glad people are kind of like accepting it, and
Yeah,
taking advantage of it, and like the resources,
and we're
and
able
being
to
more,
talk about it.
yeah, being more open about it.
Yeah,
So I think we're headed in the right direction, even though sometimes it feels like we're not when you like look at everything around us.
right.
But we're getting there. So I I see that as a good thing.
Well, do you think maybe that's the change that we needed as a country, and to begin with? Maybe we need to. That's the base of it, where we're all just fucking so freaked out about everything we see. And we just need to go, okay, just everybody relax. Let's talk to each other and let's communicate with each other and let's have, let's put sticky notes on each other's computers, just little shit. It's like everything's going to be okay, man. And that's basically what I write. That's what I wrote on a coworker's desk the other day. Everything's going to be just fine. You're going to be okay. And that's a good thought, you know?
Yeah, because a lot I've even seen like videos of like just little like phrases like that,
Hmm.
and people will like give them out to like literal strangers, like at the park or something, and then they just hand them like the little note, and then they just walk away. They just hand it to them and leave. Don't say anything. They just leave, and they're like recording the person,
Yeah.
and you can see them like open it and read it, and like you catch that moment of like self reflection and like introspection, like on camera. It's pretty like inspiring thing to see,
Yeah, that's
because
cool.
like you had no idea what that person was going through, and you know maybe they thought that nobody cared, or like that nobody was paying attention to them, and then here
Yeah.
comes some like fucking stranger and gives you like a note with like the most like generic but like inspiring like message, but it like strikes a chord.
Well, it's the simple things that hit us the hardest, man.
Yeah, so it's pretty like I said, it's pretty inspiring to see that people are starting to like care more for others.
Yeah. That's cool. It's funny how I just thought it's the simple things that hit us the hardest because we can go to a 5 day, seminar about motivation and all that stuff and have all these complex things where we have to decode them and apply them to our life and be taught and sit in classrooms and okay, well, things will be better. And then someone just hands you a torn piece of paper that says things are going to be okay. You're like, well, that's much better than the fucking seminar I just sat through because things are going to be okay if I think about it. Yesterday, I went to my favorite restaurant and she said, "Do you? It's going to be a few minutes because tofu takes longer to cook. Would you like your receipt?" And I said, "No, I don't want my receipt." And I thought, "Yeah, I do. Give me that receipt." So this girl who was waiting on me, she was obviously just having a bad day, and it's okay. I let her have a bad day, and I folded an origami swan while I was waiting on my food, and she brought it out to me, and she handed me the food, and I handed her to the swan. I said, "Have a nice day," and the look on her face was like, "That's really beautiful." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, have a good day," and I hope that in some way I changed her day, and the I do that all the time, Lalo, like little notes and little pieces of origami, and I that's the best I can do, bro. I That's the best I can do at this point because I'm sometimes I look at like you said, you look at the news and you're just overwhelmed. You're just like, fuck, everything's on fire. The planet itself is degrading. War everywhere, hate, racism. It's just this long list of shit that you're like, I can't do anything about any of that. But you know what I can do? I can fold a fucking paper bird and tell somebody to have a nice day. And I guess
Sometimes
that's
that's all it
enough.
takes.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. So that's I got to roll because I'm gonna go make lattes for my wife and daughter because that's Sunday morning and that's something I do. So, but here's your thing for the week, man. Be nice to somebody. Jesus criminy, just have a good word, hand them a note, do something cool. You don't have to film it because the thing is, if you do something nice for somebody, you did something nice for two people, right? For yourself and for
Yeah,
them. It's been a hard week, but we're gonna make next week better, right?
always.
Always, man. And fuck Kevin McCarthy. He needs to go away.
I like that transition of be nice to people and Be kind,
Yeah,
but then,
fuck
but
Kevin
fuck it.
McCarthy.
Don't be nice to that guy.
Well, if everybody don't be nice to that
If he cuts you off, make sure to get out and fucking pound on his car.
guy. I met him. He's really nice in
I'm
person.
sure
He's
he
he's
is.
just, he's a nice guy. He was nice to everybody. He came to Bart.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I remember you telling me.
yeah, and I got my picture with him, and he was like very kind to me. He's like, "Thank you for working with this community. They need you, and that's a cool thing. And we're going to try to get you some funding," and which he didn't, but
He
he doesn't.
tried.
No, he didn't. That's
I'm
what I'm
not sure
saying.
he actually tried.
No, I was supposed to saying he said he was going to try and he didn't. Well, I didn't. I don't mean he tried and he failed. I mean he didn't try. So-
I actually had a before we end. I had a teacher in high school that he's probably like my favorite teacher
Mhm.
that I've ever had. He was my government econ teacher. His name was Jeremy Adams. He's like the super like acclaimed professor or like teacher. He's like teaches at BHS and then he also teaches at CSUB and then he's like even written some books.
Oh,
So he's
cool.
like pretty like he's done a lot, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember one of his I don't know how close they were, but one of his good friends was Kevin McCarthy. But Mr. Adams always seemed very like level-headed and like rational. Because I mean, he was a Republican, but I always saw him as like the John McCain type of Republican, you know.
Yeah. The good kind.
And
Definitely.
I I wondered like I wondered the other day if his relationship with McCarthy has gotten better or worse for as of like recent years, just with like all the shit that's has been happening.
Right.
I don't know, and yeah, I've just like wondered like how that relationship has gone because, like I said, he was always a very like rational and like level-headed person that would admit when they were wrong or when they were in the doing something bad
Yeah.
or when something wasn't right, like they would admit it.
Have
And
you reached out to him?
no, I haven't. I seen him like he commented on some like page, and I just recognized the name and I like clicked on his page and I kind of just like looked at what he's been up to and like he's written like a few more books because when I was in his class he had written his first book. He had just published it, and I think since then he's like published like one or two more books. Um, and I might like check it out because it seems like a very interesting read. I'll like send you the link.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I've always uh, wondered that, and maybe I will reach out to him to see just how he's been doing and stuff. Because like I said, he was my favorite. Like I didn't realize it at the time, but like looking back, he was definitely like he was a very good teacher. Like when you think of a good teacher and what they do and how they teach, he was
Yeah.
probably like he was the best teacher I ever had.
That's what we need more of. My wife is one of those teachers. She teaches. She taught when she was teaching at the high school. She was also teaching at CSUB, and she's reaching out to everybody. And she does that thing where she connects with students instead of telling them what to do. She teaches them how to be. You know,
Yeah.
that's a huge difference. She's a good teacher, and we need more. But you should reach out to this guy. Former student with podcast.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
I'm not the only one for with him.
Well, you never know. You never
It
know.
was it was
I
cool. He had this like real quick. He had like this big like tournament every year.
mhm.
He called it the Earl Warren Cup, and it was basically like government questions. But it was like a big deal. Like he had an auditorium, like in the evening, people would go, parents,
Yeah,
students, and it was kind of like in a like elimination style. Like there's 30 students, and you go one at a time, and once you get it out, if you get it wrong, you're out. So
right.
until there's a person left.
Like a spelling bee.
Yeah, like a spelling bee, and if you won, you would you would get like an automatic A for the final, and you wouldn't have to take it, and
Oh, wow.
So, and since he knew Kevin McCarthy, he was able to get like video questions from like people in Washington.
Oh, wow.
So he'd get like Condoleezza Rice to like ask a question, or like a senator, or like representative, or like a governor.
That's really fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
I would like to know. I'm curious as to how he reacted. He is reacting to McCarthy's antics of the last 3 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing that like intrigues me too, because I don't know. Like, I really hope he's not like he didn't like go down that rabbit hole.
Right.
Because and I don't think he did, because like I
It's
said, he doesn't seem like that kind of person.
right. It's not impossible though, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. Because a lot of good people phew, got fooled, and then once you get fooled, then it's hard to say, "Oh, I got fooled." I'm back. I'm back to center where I need to be, where I see everybody's point of view. Sorry about that. All right, dude. Excellent. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you too.
Go be nice to somebody this week. All right.
I always am.
All right, man. And there's not much we could have been thoroughly wrong about this week, because it was more or less just fucking be nice. Just be honest with yourself, with others, communicate, and instead of all those negative emotions, try to dredge up those pussy emotions like empathy and love and all that. All right, man. See you next week.
All right, man. Later.
All right, later, brother. You have now experienced the Thoroughly Wrong Project with your podcast hosts, Lalo and Bob. We can now be found on Pandora Radio, Apple Podcasts, Podium Podcast, or by searching The Thoroughly Wrong Project to locate our YouTube channel. You can contact us directly by email at thoroughly-wrong@gmail.com, or just leave a comment on any of our platforms. Until next time, thanks for spending your valuable time with us, and remember, always speak up and never be afraid to be thoroughly wrong.